Ask Reddit. What are some more stories you know? Anything from how your grandpa tangoed with death or a heroic deed that made your uncle your hero. I love these and want to hear them all. My granddad and mother lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere during the German occupation. They pretty much only had contact with them when every Sunday a couple of Germans would ride out on a bicycle and buy some of their eggs, but for some reason, nobody came all of a sudden. My grandfather got nervous. What is happening in the war? Who is winning? A few days later he hears a flotilla of planes flying over. No worries, they have done that before. But this time they drop a lot of parachutes. The old man gets all warrior-like, brings out a rusty good-for-nothing duck shooter and starts firing. It turned out it was just pamphlets and trinkets dropped by the Germans. My family's greatest war hero. My great-grandma was in the Leningrad Blockade. From what I remember her telling me was she was a very young girl when a bomb fell on her house. She survived, but she did have to walk around and pick her mother up in pieces and put her in a box to bury what was left of her. My grandpa is credited with one of the first planes shot down over Germany in World War II. He was the belly gunner of a B-17 bomber only because he was the smallest guy that could fit in the bubble. There were 3 instances of the pilot calling for them to bail out by parachute. They never did, because the pilot was able to make it to safety. On one of those instances the brass shell casings jammed the bubble so he couldn't rotate up and jump out of the plane. However, the pilot saved the day and guided the plane to safety. Thank God for that pilot's determination to keep the plane flying, or I wouldn't be here. Also, my grandpa saved all the pins to the bombs so when they dropped on Germany they would detonate. His job was also to pull pins on all the bombs because he again was the smallest and could fit back in the bay for the bombs. He attached tags with dates, location, and payload to each pin. My uncle has all his medals, uniform, and the pins. My mom and him bicker a ton, so I have only seen that stuff a handful of times. My grandma kept all his letters he wrote her and he kept hers. Truly the best couple ever. My mom has the pictures and the actual article that credits him with the one of the first planes shot down over Germany. I have physically read it and held it, but my mom and I no longer speak, so I can't scan it and upload it. It's at her house. William R. Henry, if anyone wants to try and research it. TLDR, utmost respect for my grandpa, and miss him tons. Different war, but I got a fucking surreal story. I was with a legit badass who learned Dari. We still had an interpreter, so he could instruct top brass of the Afghanistan army in logistics, particularly medical stuff. Near end of deployment of Zero Progress, we learned that the dude was illiterate and was just pretending to work. All the actual work was pawned off to some private, and the badass figured it out because the guy was reading the casualty reports upside down. This dude was like the top 5 or 10 most important people in the country. Countless people died because of him. My uncle was on an airfield somewhere in the US, he never told me where, but one night, it was late, he stepped outside for a smoke, and noticed the runway wasn't lit, which wasn't normal. They normally had the landing lights on 24/7. He walked closer and saw a large dark object landing on the runway. It turned into a bunker with no lights on and they closed the doors. My uncle just thought to himself, I don't think I was supposed to see that. And kept it to himself. About a month later they revealed the SR-71 Blackbird. He thinks that's what he saw. My uncle transported a nuclear warhead across northeast US once. It was winter, I forget the year. Everything was fine most the journey, however they had a hill leading into the base. He was given orders to keep it at a certain speed. I think he said it WSS like 35 miles per hour. He had a Humvee full of soldiers in front of him, a Humvee of soldiers behind him, and a soldier with a rifle next to him, who was sleeping. Well, they hit the hill and were coming down into the base, and my uncle hit ice. The trailer started sliding on the ice and was trying to pass the truck, so my uncle hit the gas trying to even it out. My uncle almost hit the lead Humvee, and passed them. The soldier next to him woke up and pointed his rifle at him. My uncle went, shoot, and we're all fucking dead. The soldier looked at the trailer and realized what was happening, and lowered his gun. They entered the base going 70. Once they were at the bottom, my uncle managed to get it all under control and park the truck. The commander of the base approached him and pointed a pistol at my uncle. What the hell was that? Are you trying to get us all killed? No sir, tell me, which of your men was supposed to put the salt down on that hill? The commander walked away for a few minutes, yelled at some men. Then came back and apologized. My uncle served in Vietnam. He was a weapons expert, who worked on bombers. His base was a few miles from the airstrip, so every morning he took a transport to the airstrip. He had to walk, he says, about a mile one way, turn left and walk another mile to get to his transport. One day, he was running late and didn't want to miss his transport, so he decided to cut across a field that was in the center. He ran over, hopped the barbed wire, and cut across the field. He came out the other side. He didn't know exactly where he was, and there was a Marine directing traffic. He walked up to the Marine who was facing the other way, tried yelling out to him. But there was too many engines and the Marine couldn't hear him. My uncle tapped him on the leg, which really scared the guy. Where the hell did you come from? I was watching these roads all day and didn't see you. I came from back there, pointed over his shoulder. Not possible. Where did you come from? Look, I hopped the barbed wire and cut across this field right. My uncle turned to see a sign labeled, "Minefield, stay clear." He turned back to the Marine and went. There wasn't a sign on the other side. There was barbed wire on the other side.